Welcome to another edition of Wander and Muse, the podcast dedicated to giving creators a platform to share their stories, creations, and tips. I'm your host, Heather Wolfern, and today's guest is Don Guerra from Barrio Bread. Before we get started, go ahead and do me a favor by subscribing to the Wander and Muse with Heather podcast and following Wander and Muse on Facebook and YouTube. Find the links at wanderandmuse.world. Let's begin. Hello, Don.
Hello, Heather. How are you?
I'm doing so well. So good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me today.
Of
Always
course.
so fun to sit down with you.
You too. You too. I know last time we got together was when I still hosted the Business of
Yes.
show on the radio. And I feel like a lot has happened since then. That was what, 1 or 2 years ago? I'm trying to think.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Was it?
I think it was 2 years ago, but time flies.
Yeah. And when I popped on your website, I was looking like, yet again, you have more media. Like you're doing so well because you just keep evolving and expanding. And so for people who must live under a rock and don't know who you are, what you've been doing, give a quick little synopsis of what Barrio Bread's about.
So Barrio Bread is really a community investment project, community investment sort of business. I believe in serving community and connecting community through bread. That's my mission statement, plain and simple. It happens every day at Barrio Bread. The bread I've been making for 30 plus years is naturally leavened. So sourdough leavened. It's a French technique called levain. No added sugars or oils. Amazing quality bread because it is made with Arizona grains. So it's Arizona all the way. And I'm super proud of, being a baker over 30 years. The last, say, 12 years has been trying to revive this local grain economy in our region and now statewide initiative. And, just bread for the people. And not only bread now, but bread's been my vehicle to really kind of be a mover and, sort of a food champion to rally people together and connect our community where they see it's more than bread. It's a chance to connect. It's a chance to talk about food initiatives, food equality, equitable food systems, and really get this dialogue going so we can really mobilize and get food to the people who value it, deserve it, and sort of this is what it's turned into. So not just the bread, but bread's been my vehicle really to connect with people and serve my community.
Definitely. And something I came upon was when you were saying, it must have been in an article you were talking about when you were in Flagstaff and you would order your ingredients, you would have no idea where they really came from. And so now it's a completely different story. I mean, you're up at Hayden Mills now in Gilbert, and the father-daughter team, they are growing this Sonoran white. So talk more about that, because I was impressed by that.
Yeah, it is a really amazing opportunity. One reason I'm there's several reasons, but primary reason I'm there is because it's a chance to work with Jeff and Emma Zimmerman. It's a father-daughter team. Jeff is the founder, as well as Emma now. But it's this kind of discussion I had with Jeff years ago, back in 2010. He was a Dakota farmer. His family had been in farmers for years, and one of the crops they raised was grain. When he's having this talk with me here, when I first met him, he's saying, "Oh, you're a baker. Do you think it'd be a good idea to grow grains in the desert? Do you think you could do something with it?" And back then it was just this spoken word. And instantly I said, absolutely, we need to really put this into motion, make this happen. And so that's what happened. There's crops that were grown out there. Also here in Southern Arizona, Gary Nabhan, a grain champion with Native Seed Search, and we all got involved in grant work. And from there, it's just taken off. But the chance to go back and work with Jeff, be in the same house. I'm in the Hayden Flour Mills new location in Gilbert. My bakery is on the interior. I built an amazing bakery. I'm making all the bread myself right now, which is going back to the garage days where I made every single piece of bread. Going back to work, and it's a lot of fun because I'm sourcing new varieties of grain that are now growing in Queen Creek. So the farms are 30 miles away, and even some of the ingredients like the fruits and some of the olives and different things from Queen Creek Olive Mill. The dates I've been sourcing from a farmer here in Tucson off of Orange Grove. So the bakery there is just going to just be elevated with the type of ingredients It's fun for me. I'm on the job making all the bread, but this is a chance to really showcase what's happening in Arizona and be with the people I was meant to be with, which is the original flour partner, Hayden Flour Mills.
That's beautiful. And that's even where you grew up
Yeah,
too. So
and the original Hayden Flour Mills, I grew up pretty much right underneath it. I used to ride my bike from my house
I
to my
love
Nana's
that.
house and look up at those silos and cross the Salt River on my bike back then.
I
Don't
love
recommend it now.
it.
But it was it's
Wow.
nostalgic. It's
It
really
is.
beautiful. Life kind of comes full
It sure
circle.
does.
And the cool thing is my mom is helping at the new bakery. She
Is
lives a block
she?
away. That's the other reason I chose it, the site.
I love that.
And then my dad is also helping me with some of the cleaning.
I love
His
this.
barber. She's a barber. I swept floors for him when I was young and shined
Uh-huh.
shoes.
Uh-huh.
And he made a joke last week that now I'm sweeping my son's floors. So 75 years old,
That's
and
fantastic.
they love it because I've come home, and one reason to spend more time with them, and them to see their grandkids, and now Graciela, 13-month-old
Yes,
daughter, see their grandbaby. So it's
definitely.
really coming home, and it's just with the people I want to spend time with.
Right. And speaking of your daughter, their granddaughter, it reminds me of a YouTube interview I saw with Jeff from the Hayden Mills when he was talking about his granddaughter out in these
Hmm.
wheat fields, and he actually got a little teary eyed, and
Yeah,
because the passion was just, you
it's
could feel it,
it
and you have
can.
that too, and so the partnership between all of you, I just think, must be just so powerful.
It's amazing. It's really, when I'm there, we just feel the energy, and
Yeah.
it is just meant to be. And like I
Yeah.
said, working with the people I was meant to work with. And,
Right.
he and I, we've seen everything in this grain economy as we developed it. There's players have come and gone. And so we're
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the last one standing. And it's cool that we just looked at each other and said, this is the time. Let's do this. And it's been years talking about it and trying to find a facility, but this spot that we have now
Yeah.
is perfect. And so, yeah,
That's
just doing the
fantastic.
good work, and now a chance to have the bread in the valley where I have massive support. It's hometown, and people really coming out for it. And I'm seeing, friends from high school.
I
I'm
bet
seeing
that's
cousins I haven't seen
fantastic.
forever.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
good.
so it's really
So you
it's really
truly are
fun.
breaking bread with
Yeah, we are
everyone. Yeah.
definitely breaking bread with the family.
That's
This is my
beautiful.
family, all my people.
And I love the nod to all the cultural preservation of what
Hmm.
you're doing too. That's huge. And along the lines of that is about what's coming up. Actually, by the time this airs, it may have just happened. On November 3rd, the Tucson Hispanic Chamber's gala, you're going to be awarded the Hispanic Businessman of the Year.
Yeah.
So you have always been very much about your Hispanic heritage and how important that is within your bread and all of that too. So talk a little bit more about that, the importance of that.
Yeah. I'm first of all, first and foremost, extremely honored to be the
Sure.
awardee for this year. It means so much to me. It's just unbelievable. I don't do any of this work for the accolades. It's
Right.
just kind of head down doing it and following that light that shines bright for me, waking up every day and feeling blessed that I can do the work I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just kind of proof that I am on the right path. This
Definitely.
recognition to me means that the work is being done inside our communities and people value it.
Mm-hmm.
And being a Latino business owner,
Mm-hmm.
it's really about working hard. For me, hard work is paid off. I grew up in a barbershop, 8 years old, shining shoes and sweeping floors,
Yep.
and it's having pride in service.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking at people and seeing that smile they give you
Mm-hmm.
and that compliment they give you when you went above and beyond in your service. So to me, it hasn't changed. So that
Right.
work ethic since I was 8 years old and learned that from my father. Up until now, I'm serving community
Mm-hmm.
with the best intentions. I'm sort of protective of my community. I want them to eat the best food possible, and I
Mm-hmm.
want them to have access. And not only that, but I want them to know where their food comes from and who's
Yes.
grew up from the seed all the way to the final consumption, that they should know the people involved. And that really is a total community effort where they're
Exactly.
knowing where the seeds come from and who planted it,
Yep.
and giving thanks along the entire chain of whether it's grain or vegetables or livestock
Definitely.
that your
Who's
meats.
your farmer?
Know your farmer and know your producers, and ask these questions: where does food come
Right.
from and what's in it? And to me, having a transparent business model is just kind of going back in time where, we lived in a very simple time where these things were known because there wasn't a lot of additives and there wasn't anything to
Exactly.
hide.
Right.
You know your neighbor, you
Right.
know the
Mhm.
butcher, the baker, and the
Mhm.
candlestick
You're
maker,
buying your corn, your tomatoes, yeah,
Yeah,
everything.
it's
And
simple life. And I think that's what we're craving as a society now.
I
And I know
agree.
in Tucson community, all this would not be possible with all of the kudos and the support and everyone kind of giving me that courage to move forward, because it's been kind of scary. Like, should I start the new bakery? Should I start this new
Right.
venture?
Right.
But along the way, everyone giving that support. And so I think that award to me means that, I'm on the right path.
Mhm.
I'm gaining a lot of support, and this is a time to give back to my community. And that's what I've done from the start. And, we can all grow together.
I love it. I love it. I mean, how much do you think that when you do get some higher level recognition, say the New York Times or Chicago Tribune or whatever, how much do you think that does directly contribute to your bread sales?
It's a great question. And I think that allows for me to have traction
Mm-hmm.
and allow people to trust what I'm doing. And once they investigate, they realize that it's for the people and it's
Right.
not sort of capitalistic
No. Yeah.
like pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I'm making meaning over money. The
Mm-hmm.
money follows that meaning when you set the best intentions
Yes.
to serve. But those awards do help, and I
Mm-hmm.
do get very excited when they
Yeah.
come around because it allows me to just continue doing what I do.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll ever accomplish everything I have in mind to do.
Right.
By the time I'm not on the earth, I'm in a different space. But it allows me to get up every day totally excited and stay passionate about my work. And it just comes through every day, from going around and sourcing my ingredients
Uh-huh.
and talking to farmers to being in my bakery and handing over a loaf,
Yep.
or just taking time on a sidewalk, or to stop when someone stops me and wants to chat about what's
Mm-hmm.
happening in my life or
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things make me feel so proud about being a Tucsonan and
Definitely.
Arizonan, and just doing it the way I want to do it, which
Mm-hmm.
is just, give to the community.
You're doing it right. And I always love your attitude and your vibe. And I feel that that comes through in
Mm,
your bread. I mean, your bread is truly delicious. I've probably had each loaf,
yeah.
each different type. But there is something in it that you can almost feel your passion in it,
Yeah, and
truly.
food is like that when you have a producer behind it that is 100% committed, or the team is 100%
Yeah.
committed. And that's another factor that comes into play, is
Mm-hmm.
keeping staff happy, healthy,
Sure.
respected, and give them some creative energy. So I I love every day when I'm working at the front and the laughing gets so loud. I have to go in back and say,
You
"You guys
guys.
calm down. It's a little loud up front."
I love
And to me, it's like,
that.
even though I'm like the boss and I have to, like,
What a good
set things
problem to
straight,
have.
exactly. Great problem to have. And I just walk back and I think I'm so lucky.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, you're really blessed for sure. And we've talked about your passion a lot, and you do love waking up every morning. But are there those days though where you're like, I don't want to have flour all over my hands today?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have those days, and how do you stay motivated if those days do come up?
Really, what happens on those days when it's a difficult, if I'm super tired, or,
Yeah,
I've had some sort of difficult business dealing,
sure, sure.
it's taking that pause and
Hmm.
looking around, and the people that are surrounding me immediately, friends and especially family, waking up, and that blessing that I have to be with them and to carve out the time and decide how much effort I put it into my business.
Hmm.
It feels good. And that's a daily reminder that, hey, take a break. I
Yes,
get to live the life that I've always wanted to live.
yes.
And I actually never thought it would come true the way it is. But it
Mm.
is a blessing every day that I can have this creative energy, where
Hmm.
sometimes it just takes a phone call, random phone call, where I meet someone
Hmm.
that's, I get connected to a new ingredient, or it's some new opportunity, or it's a
Definitely.
speaking engagement. Right now,
Right.
there's every week I have at least one speaking engagement and a
My
lot with
goodness.
young people.
Oh, good.
So going to schools,
That's
I
really
was just
important.
at a, last two assignments was at charter schools
Oh, good.
where they're having difficult motivating some of the children,
Oh.
and just helping them get on track by seeing some sort of inspiration in their life. And for me,
I
bring
love that.
samples. It helps to bring samples,
Definitely. I
but
don't want to be
just,
hangry.
yeah, and
Yeah.
just being like, this teacher I was in front of, young people, and giving them a little glimmer of hope for their own lives, that, you don't have to have everything figured out,
No.
that life comes from exploring and sometimes getting distracted,
Mm-hmm.
but it comes from gathering information and being a learner and being open to new ideas and valuing the people that are, teaching you or sharing with you or
Definitely.
raising you or, feeding you, whatever it is. But it's really fun to see those kids, and then to have them come back in the bakery and say, "Hey, you were in our class," and
Oh,
I
good.
told my mom and dad to come down, and that really feels good.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's true. You were saying how at that age they don't need to know what's next for them. And even at our age, it's the same
No,
exact
keep
thing.
it
We
open.
don't know when the next email is going to come or the next phone call where it's
Yeah,
like, oh, I didn't even think of that
right?
avenue to
New
take.
angles,
Let's do
and
that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, and just like what you're doing, like as an artist, you're still inside your artistic realm, but there's
Mm-hmm.
so many branches to that
So
because you're an
many.
open thinker and a
Yeah.
progressive person, that opportunities come just by exploring. And
Right.
so that's what I'm trying to instill in the kids, and even with older adults, that I feel lucky I found my craft and my calling and what I want to do, but it just takes just being
I
open.
agree.
But I feel lucky, but that's a blessing, just realizing every day when I get challenged to take a breath, look around, and know that there's blessings in every part of my life,
Definitely.
and staying motivated.
And even if something ends up not working out as you had hoped or planned, like Barrio Charo, you ended up
Hmm.
changing directions with that, but that's okay.
It's
I mean, not
okay.
everything needs to be perfect forever,
No,
So,
yeah.
but how great that you went for it, right?
Yeah, it's a learning opportunity, and what I love to do now is you can set things in motion, but don't have it figured out. And
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe younger in life I wanted things to go a certain way.
Right.
But I realize even daily, like my schedule being an entrepreneur, there's
Sure.
no day that's ever the same for me. And I know it
Right.
might be frustrating for some people around me, and they're like, "How could you do this? Like, you were gonna do this, and now you don't have time, or you're gonna
Oh,
go over
gotcha.
here and do this."
Yeah, yeah.
But it's kind of being open. I have to flex, but I try not to set massive expectations
Yeah.
besides good intentions.
Right.
And when I do that, if the energy flows in a positive way and it works out, great. If it's changing and I need to change with it, then I'm happy to do it, because
Mm-hmm.
I know sort of life is that way, that
Yeah,
the universe kind of writes you and kind
it
of
does.
tests you
It
sometimes, like
does.
what you have in you, what you can handle, but then at the
Right.
end, it kind of like gets you in the right spot where
It's
you
so
need to
true.
be.
It's so true.
Yeah.
We have a very similar philosophy of life.
I know we do. That's why we're good friends too.
Exactly. Let's see what else. I also stumbled upon something that I'm not sure if it actually has come to fruition yet or not, but I saw that you're considering making a beer with fermented bread. Do you
I'm
want to talk about that?
Yeah, that was a fun project. We just
Oh,
had
so it
our
did
it
happen.
happened. We
Okay.
did the beer launch 2 weekends ago, and it was with Wilderness Brewing
Okay.
up in Gilbert. They have been friends and supporters and fans, and vice versa, me for them, because they are like master fermenters. But we did a beer that was made with whole grain bread
Okay.
and some of my grains. It's called a Kvass. It's an Eastern European beer. Primarily, it's Russian,
All right.
and it's been a beverage that younger and older people have enjoyed in Russia. It's low ABV, so I
I don't
think
know what that means.
alcohol,
Oh,
alcohol,
oh,
yeah,
oh.
by
I
volume.
should know
So,
what that means.
so the Russian kids, I think they were getting a little nip back then, but it's probably keeping them happy. But this one was a beer of that sort, that style, which is sort of this farmhouse ale where it's an open fermentation,
Okay.
because to inoculate the fermentation, to initiate it,
Oh.
it was with sourdough.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
it's kind of this bread
That's so
sourdough beer called
interesting.
a Kvass. And the cool thing was, it
Yeah.
was named after my daughter, Graciela. I'll
Oh,
have to bring you a bottle.
yeah.
but it's kind of tribute to her and what we thought of when we coming up to the names and what we're doing. They're very into conservation and sourcing local and making sure that wilderness protected. That's the name of their business, but it's also a focus on the youth, so we can conserve for ourselves, but we need to be thinking about all this for the future generations.
Definitely.
So my 13-month-old daughter now has a beer, and I say, where does she go from here? It's named after her. So
vodka, I guess.
right, she's just on the up. But it was a fun celebration, and the fact that they wanted to name it after our daughter was special, because it really is about the youth. And if we can't conserve what we have now and protect for the future, or can even continue with the craft knowledge to pass that on, where are we in the future? So
Definitely.
we talk a lot about conservation of land and water rights. These are things we need to do to protect now, to put measures in place where we can have these future generations enjoying kind of what we're doing now.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Since here we are at the end of October, the holiday season's right around the corner. So I want to plug your merch. So you've had gift cards for a long time.
Gift cards.
What a great stocking stuffer that would be, right?
Yes, they're $10 increments for Barrio Bread. A great way to gift a friend or gift an office mate.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah,
because everybody loves Barrio Bread.
But yeah, great. And I even noticed, this is really cool, that realtors are buying those gift cards, and when they close on a house, they're putting a stack of those in the house, or even a loaf of bread to go with it, and saying, you have your neighborhood bakery now, Barrio Bread, go there. So it's a really great gift, especially coming from out of town. These realtors, people buy houses when they're out of state, and so but this makes me feel that Barrio Bread is such a part of the community, integral part of the community, because it has to do with everything from agriculture to culinary, the gastronomy part, to just community. Having fun, community, eating delicious bread, and breaking bread with your community.
I completely agree. And then you also have those great T-shirts with your signature bread on the front. And now, how often do you come up with a new stencil for the bread? Some of those specialty breads where one has a saguaro.
I have new ones for the Gilbert site right now. Those are kind of, and I have some Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, that's a great
stencils.
idea.
Those are coming. I just got some of those.
That's a great idea.
But it's fun. It just shows that the bread is art, that it can be edible art, and it's not just a food, but it is an art piece. And so, being in the craft this long, I pay close attention on the appearance of the bread, the artistic side of the bread, because I want people to take it home, put it on the counter, and just look at it maybe for a little while before they just take a bite. I love you say that. But then
once you do cut into it, it just disappears. You're like, oh my God, did we just devour that loaf in 2 days?
Yeah.
But it's so good.
And like you're saying, it's all that good energy that goes into it. So you feel like when you're eating it, and I love to watch people eat it because everyone's smiling.
Right.
And that just shows that there's all that good energy that has something to do with your facial muscles to bring that emotion out. And so that is really powerful. I see sometimes people in their cars kind of, sit and eat their Barrio Bread in the car. This couple the other day told me how they put a little butter. They take a little butter with them. So they have a little date in the front seat.
In the console.
Yeah, it's true.
I love it.
So
truly, I mean, when people talk about love languages, it's like anytime my husband's brought me home Barrio Bread, I'm just like, oh my God,
I love you.
He knows the way to my heart.
Right, you do. So cool.
So what else do you want to share today before we wrap up? Let's see, we've talked about the barriobread.com merch that people can have. Just in case someone doesn't already know, you're at the Broadway Village Shopping Center Tuesdays through Saturdays from 9 to 1 or until the bread is gone, which is Broadway and Country Club, basically, just kind of back in there on that little Eastbourne Street.
Yeah, and now Gilbert. So the way the Gilbert Bakery works is it's a online reservation.
Right.
So going to barriobread.com, clicked on the online ordering, you'll see 3 pictures, 3 thumbnails. One is for the Wednesday collection Tucson, Friday collection Tucson, and now Tuesday collection, Gilbert. Clicking on
Gotcha.
that button, you'll be able to reserve breads. The window for ordering goes live on Saturday. Let's see, on Wednesday at
Okay.
4 p.m. and then closes on Saturday, and then the next Tuesday is when you pick up your reserve breads. So you can
Okay.
pay for it and reserve it, and there's always extras on site. So that's the model I'm using in Phoenix. I'm not going to jump too soon on what the model is in Phoenix. I'm just enjoying being there in the valley and being with
Mm-hmm.
friends and family, making the bread, and then possibly a farmer's market on Saturday. But I want to make sure my time is not too thin here in Tucson because it is my home and I love it so much.
Definitely.
But I'm really inspired to be back in the valley. And like I said, for many reasons, family, friends,
Sure.
and in the Hayden Flour Mills mill house. So it's really cool.
I love everything that's happening, and boy, have you come a long way since you were making bread in your
Oh my
garage
gosh.
and selling out of the back of your car at schools
Yeah,
around town.
that was
It's still
fun.
really vivid, like it was yesterday, but it's been like
It's
13 years or something, or
Yeah,
how long has
some
it
of the
been?
best days of my life in
Yeah.
that garage. And I think about it because people say, "Oh, you must be so much happier now." But I've always been happy
Yeah.
as long as I'm making the bread
Yeah.
and getting out to the people. And that little Honda Odyssey I used to pack,
Yes.
and I used to call it mobile retail,
Uh-huh.
and jamming around to the schools or the markets and popping out the back and selling the
Right.
bread. Those are great times for me. But I do believe that the success of my business has been due to the foundation I've laid.
Mm-hmm.
So really not going too quickly and
Yeah.
trying to fast forward, but being proud of every stage
Yeah.
of my life and every stage of my career. And everything I've done, like I said, is for the people.
I love it.
Yeah.
And staying humble. How do you stay so humble?
You know, it's much easier. I feel it's I sometimes just don't look up too much. But I'm very proud just to come where I've from. And I just feel like there's so much to do, like I said. So being humble, it comes easy because I feel like there's so much more work to do,
Mm.
and I feel like I have a long way to go until I really fulfill my ultimate goal. But along the way, I'm hitting these beautiful benchmarks
Yes.
that have kind of like pushed me forward to the next one with some great force and courage and just excitement. So for me, I love what I do, but I love to share that enthusiasm, excitement, and success with my community, and that keeps me humble.
I
Is
love
knowing
it.
that there's so much more to do, and I'm just and after at the day's end, I'm just like a simple guy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love it. All right.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Don.
yeah.
And everyone, head over to barriobread.com for any more information you could possibly need about Don. He's such a fantastic guy, and stop by the shop whenever you can. And thanks so much for listening. Remember to check out wanderandmuse.world. Email me at heather@wanderandmuse.world for some Host Red sponsorship opportunities or to be my guest. And please go ahead and subscribe to my Wander and Muse with Heather on YouTube and the podcast channels. Go out there and create something today. Thanks for listening.